Joseph Phair. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming as well.
Pause.
Thanks for having me.
I love that start. So before we dive in, for everybody watching, our mouths are going to be turning blue because we're ripping some methylene blue times caffeine times sativa times nicotine. So
all the good stuff.
We're going to be super dialed in this podcast.
Yeah, didn't expect the blue mouth from it. I thought that it was going to be a little more subtle. I'm like seeing it in the... Wow, it's really beautiful though.
It gives a lightness to it, to this conversation.
Absolutely.
Because I know we're going to drop in.
Totally.
Cool. So let's do it. So you just changed your name on Instagram.
Yeah.
To Modern Man Rebirth.
Yes.
I want to start with the first two words. Modern Man. What does that mean to you?
Modern man, it means exactly how it sounds. Men living in modern society. I believe that I have a presence to be able to speak to these people. Basically, every single man that is living in modern society right now is considered a modern man, in my opinion. And Modern Man Rebirth is this, it signifies this new awakening that I'm seeing in the world and that I'm feeling in myself, and that I want to lean into and use to grow closer to my soul's purpose.
Tell me about this awakening.
Yeah, bro. There's been a few of them. The awakening for myself has been the product of this radical healing journey that I've embarked on specifically over the course of the last year or so. More so my entire life. It's like we're constantly healing. We're never not healing. Every human is always healing, no matter what it may seem like. And yeah, I've been through these radical changes, whether it be health things that I've navigated, relationships, and just things that have happened in my personal life. And basically I feel as though I see the world with this brand new perspective, and we can dive into some of those specifics, but I basically have this like new childlike wonder in the world, and I feel like it's really, really great because I've been able to facilitate some reprogramming.
So this new childlike wonder, this new lifestyle, I've only known you since you've been quote unquote reborn. But the Joe Phair that I saw on Instagram a year ago is very different than the Joe Phair now. So what are these like practical, tangible, real world examples of how your life has shifted in the past year? Like what were you doing a year ago that now you see through it and you've changed your ways?
Yeah, definitely. So the way I see it is, a year ago I was lost in the sauce, and at the time I thought that I was like completely awoken. Like I thought I had it all figured out. I spoke in absolutes. I really was convicted in my path. And so exactly a year ago, I had a traumatic brain injury where I just randomly fainted and fell, and I wasn't able to like speak or move my head or communicate for like 5 days, and my nervous system was coiled up. My arms were like this, and I was told that I could permanently be disabled. And so that was really like the big spark of it, and we can dive into why I think that happened. But it really made me survey everything that was going on in my life, because once I had came to from that injury, I had this new level of sensitivity that I hadn't noticed before. And I just believed that it was because I had made room for a more clear channel to receive information. I believe that like I always kind of knew deep down, and that I had been getting the signs, and that it took this massive thing in my life to occur in order for me to see it, in order for me to finally get the message.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of the big facets were living for external validation and just being so ingrained in the societal collective consciousness and just my belief as to what life was and how it should be lived. And it took really, really big things happening in life for me to be able to step back, zoom out, and start playing chess instead of checkers, and really just realizing what it was that set my soul on fire, how I wanted to live my life, how I wanted to show up for other people, what type of person I wanted to be, man, father, etc.
Wow.
Yeah.
It seemed like in that moment where the traumatic brain injury happened, you like quantum leaped into a new reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's interesting timing because yesterday I was listening to like a 20-minute Joe Dispenza clip about the energy centers and the chakras. And he essentially said when people can start to successfully awaken the energy, it's also called Kundalini energy. He didn't use that word because he's like, it's too new age, it's too spiritual, it's too woo-woo, which I understand. It's just these energy centers in the body. He said once you can start to awaken it and get it to rise up to the brain, oftentimes when that awakening happens, people faint and pass out because a bunch of energy has just entered the brain that was never there. So I wonder if there's a connection there.
That's so interesting. And it's so funny because the way that Jack and I first connected, the way that we first connected was I saw you had posted something about Kundalini energy on Twitter. And
Really?
the serpent.
Uh-huh.
And the day before, I found a snake in my bedroom. And I was like, what is this sign? Like, what is God trying to tell me? And that's how we first connected. I reached out to you and I was like, yo, I just found a snake in my bedroom.
You know, I had no idea. I forgot that that's why you reached out to me. I thought you reached out to me because, like, for business ideas. Like
that was the second time.
That was the second time. But the first time was the Kundalini. And it's interesting because I have, if you could see here, I have the Kundalini tattoo on my arm with the 7 chakras. As I experienced for the first time Kundalini energy moving in my body this summer.
Wow.
And I feel it now, actually. As I say that, I feel it pulsate in my root chakra, in my sacral chakra. And whenever I'm expressing myself creatively, I feel it moving. It's so fascinating. And so, you know, I'm just tapping into this now, but from what I understand, and Carl Jung talked about this, Jesus talked about this, the ancient yogis all talk about it. If we can successfully get this energy to rise and align, it directly goes to the pineal gland third eye awakening.
That makes a lot of sense, man. And you're putting a lot of words to why semen retention is so powerful, I believe.
Yes.
Because whenever you channel the orgasm and the life force energy up into like instead of shooting it out, you're essentially, whenever you orgasm, you're supposed to try and channel it and send it upwards. And supposedly that's creative energy.
Yes.
And so it's so interesting. This is an illuminating conversation already for me.
Interesting. Semen retention, is that something that you've practiced?
Totally.
Yeah?
Totally.
Tell me about the benefits.
Yeah.
Why?
I believe that, so, I mean, previously in my life, I've, masturbated and watched porn, and I think a lot of men in modern society have, and that's something that I hold to a very high importance. There's a few different reasons, but semen retention for me has been profound, I believe. And there's a huge difference. There's just a huge tangible difference. So I was previously in a relationship. I'm a new father, so obviously I've had a few climaxes in the last few years in order to be a father. And I notice I notice more energy whenever I retain my seed, and I notice more creative energy in particular. And so that's why it just resonated with me so hard, because Kundalini equals creative energy.
Yes.
You said that it's meant to be cultivated and sent up into the third eye, behind the pineal gland, or into the pineal gland.
Yes.
And so it just resonated so much. I'm just like, wow, that makes sense why semen retention is so powerful, because that's literally our life force energy. And whenever we choose to send it into our body, it really makes sense as to why I feel more creative whenever I retain.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can resonate. I mean, there's periods where I slip back into bad habits in terms of masturbation and just feel drained. You just want to lay around all day.
Bro.
But there's those periods where, especially this summer, when I felt this Kundalini moving so strongly, for like a month I was retaining, and I was creating every day until 7 a.m. at night. Like I would forget to sleep because I was so energized and creative, and I began to realize I don't want to give this sexual energy away, whether it be to somebody that's not ideal and matching the frequency I'm trying to be at, or masturbation and porn. And it's so interesting that this is coming up right now, because 2 days ago on a podcast I did, which is going to be coming out before this one, with Danny Miranda and Tej, it came up that my deepest insecurity has been around sexuality.
Wow.
And masturbation addiction and these things. And so it's only been in the past 3 days to a week that I feel embodied and confident enough to say it. And even the way I'm saying it now, I'm like, I'm fine with I'm saying it. I think it's a deep part of my purpose to be able to say it.
Totally.
But what revealed it to me was the energy and frequency healing with the Rasha.
Oh,
that revealed it to me only 3 days ago. So for everybody listening, Joe put me onto a healing device and modality called the Rasha, which I believe was used with like Joe Dispenza's work, energy healing, frequency, and in this state where basically there's different frequencies playing in my ear for 90 minutes, all I felt was intense healing in my genital area for 90 minutes. And I had no idea going into it that this was even an area of that I needed to look at. And so it's actually starting to shift where my life's going to go after this. Like the sun, I realize, is so important. And I mean, I can't speak for you, but I could speak for myself. The first 22 years of my life, like my genital area as a man never saw the sun. I don't think that's right.
Yeah.
I don't think that's right. And so you see like the esoteric health bros on Twitter, like sun your balls, right, to raise your testosterone. I think for me, it's much deeper. So in this new holistic, conscious, modern man protocol or philosophy, like how do you look at that? Like these esoteric practices, like sunning your balls, or like some people are like slapping your balls. Like this is it's funny to talk about, but it's actually real.
Yeah. I resonate with a lot of the esoteric practices. Like it definitely feels good whenever I sun my genitalia. I'll get in my backyard and do it. I first heard about it last year and I was very skeptical at first. I feel like it's deeper though than just the physical. It's nice to get the sun and charge your mitochondria. I think it's probably relative for each individual. For me, it's been freeing and almost just like accepting this part of myself that I had never accepted before, and like being one with God and just being fully shameless to be a human and to accept these gifts. And I can resonate with you 100%. I've had so much, I've had a lot of blocks with my sexual energy. And I think most people in society probably do, man. It's like the views on sexuality are so skewed in my opinion, and everyone has this perception of what sex should be based off of porn and based off of joking with their friends in high school, and it's like the most intimate energy. It's like the most intimate act that we have the opportunity to take part in as humans.
Right.
It's how we create life at its most purest. It's how we create at the purest source is through sex. And me personally, I've always had energy blocks around it, and I actually didn't really realize it until not too long ago myself. It was something that I just hadn't fully entertained or like let myself feel fully, just because of toxic masculinity. And it's like, oh yeah, I've had sex with women and love to have sex, it feels good, yada yada yada. And I realized for me in particular, a lot of my blocks stemmed from sexual stuff that has happened throughout my life, having sex with the wrong people, no hate to them or anything, but it's just like whenever we're having sex with somebody, we're literally sharing frequencies and energy, and it's storing into our biology. And so, yeah, it's something that I don't feel fully. I don't even have it fully figured out right now. I mean,
Me either.
It's still something that I'm working through and learning. And I've said this to a few people recently. Like, I've had sex with quite a few women. I've had a lot of sex in my life, but I've never made love.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm a father. And even then, like, it just, because I wasn't aware of what, it's like, because I wasn't fully accepting myself, and I didn't know what I wanted fully and how I wanted to honor God fully. And so that was expressing in every action that I've done. And I'm so grateful that I got to create this beautiful child. And I can fully say that, like, I didn't even really truly know what I was doing at the time.
Wow.
And it's something that I crave. It's something that I'm, like, thinking about now, and I'm not in any rush. I have a newborn baby and a lot of people to support. But, like, I think to the movie Avatar, when they, like, connect their braids and they integrate as one, and that's, like, what I believe sex should be like. It's, like, fully integrated nervous systems, breathing on the same patterns, like, deep soul connection, slow, intimate, and feeling fully connected with God at the same time.
Yes.
That's what I'm craving. And now I refuse to partake in sex again unless it's that, or it's like this really, really, really conscious and intentional relationship with a beautiful, so much deeper than physically when I say that, woman who is on the same page. And I could see myself potentially exploring in the future in a super, super conscious and integrated way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a timely conversation that we're having, because I had a very profound insight 2-3 weeks ago in my 5th ayahuasca ceremony around this. So it was a daytime ceremony, which was so interesting because I felt we were all out there in the open under the daylight looking at each other with our deepest insecurities and flaws fully open. And mine felt like the whole time was sexual insecurity.
Were you all naked?
No.
Okay.
That would be wild.
You said fully open.
No, I'm fully open in the daylight, because usually in an ayahuasca ceremony it's like 10 o'clock at night, it's pitch black, you can't see anything, you're just in your own inner world. But this time it's like you're in your own inner world going through all your shit, but it's out in the open, like there's no hiding. And so I had a few really strong downloads around sex and sexuality for me, that one, this is all going to sound wild, but I had the download that the penis is a vehicle to express love.
Yeah, sounds right.
And if I'm going to engage in sex, it is going to be from the heart, the 4th chakra, and not the sacral, not dick, not the penis only. Right, of course there has to be some type of sexual desire and energy there too. But if it's only from the lower chakras, it's not aligned. And I see it now as God blessed me with the inability to have sex without my heart involved. I had probably 25 occurrences in the last 5 years of being intimate with a girl and not being able to perform sexually. And now I see it looking back in hindsight because my heart wasn't in it. But before that, my heart was in it.
It's just a reflection of who you are, brother. It's same with your work, same with everything that you do in life. It's like once you hold yourself to a certain standard and you live with conviction and you're impeccable with your word.
Yes.
It's like, bro, that's amazing to hear. I'm so glad.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that it's coming to my awareness, and like the insecurity and suffering over the last 5 years is starting to diminish and fade. And the answer has been love and expression.
Truly. Wow.
So thank you for allowing me to share.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that our conversation has started this way.
It always goes exactly where it's supposed to. Like, I had none of this planned.
I know.
It's so funny. But we were talking earlier, like, to bring it a little bit back, like, full circle, real world. Like, the idea of going out in the sun completely naked, you said you were skeptical. I was also skeptical. Think about how absurd that is. Like, how much programming there is. Yeah, to be skeptical of being a human under the sun naked in nature. Like, how disconnected are we from our nature that is seen as weird?
Yeah.
To be outside, like, even more, I don't know, less esoteric practices like grounding, like putting your feet in the earth. I have told my family about it. Like, at Thanksgiving, Christmas, I've told my parents, my sister, my aunts, my uncles, cousins, grandparents. And they laugh at me. They think it's absurd, the idea of putting your feet in the earth. But it's like, how far have we been removed from nature to
so far
to think that putting your feet in the earth is weird?
Yeah, man. It's perplexing, and I mean, I can resonate though. Just like 4 years ago, I didn't quite understand either, and I thought that like people who did that stuff was like woo woo and hippie just based off of my conditioning and what I learned from my parents and those around me and the society that I lived in. And I mean, I posted a video of me singing on my Instagram the other day and got double-digit messages saying how weird I was now, like yada yada yada. And
wow,
I was just hitting some tones, just sharing some vocals, and it's like the more weird in the societal perception, the better, in my opinion. And I like feel really called to not fit in any societal boxes.
What did it feel like to see those messages after you post first time you singing? Because for a lot of people, like, that is crazy, right?
Yeah.
But even on a lower level, like just sharing your thoughts in public or sharing something you're passionate about, like, people fear the criticism. So how did it land for you?
It landed perfectly. Yeah, I didn't take any offense to it, truly. And I think that goes in tandem with opening your voice, because it takes a certain level of conviction to be able to fully open your voice in the first place and let it out. And so I was not attached to any sort of societal perception off of that. Like, I lose followers all the time for stuff, and the way I see it is it's just making space for the people that are really meant to see it and support me, and for me to support them. And I just experienced a voice opening not too long ago. My throat chakra feels like, I don't want to say fully open, because I get like it's easy to get lost in the idea that we have it figured out. And so, like, I'm definitely a lifelong learner in every aspect, and I understand that I'm not going to have it fully figured out, just because our growth is evergreen.
I love that answer, because a year ago you said you spoke in absolutes, and now in the moment you're now like, I don't know, I'm figuring it out.
Yeah, bro, because it's like when we're impeccable with our word, it's like, how can we say that we have anything fully figured out? Everything is relative. And yeah, man, I appreciate that. That's good reminder that I'm being everything that I want to be. And talking about the opening the voice and the throat chakra in specific, I'll explain how that happened real quick, because I think it's a really powerful story. So I was at this thing called the Body Party, which they're these healing parties that are held here in Austin by the founder of Acro Yoga, Jason Nimmer. And basically, like, top healers from all around the world come to these things, and anywhere from 2, 4, 8-handed massages to sound masters to tarot card readings to energy healers to you name it, it's there. And basically, we were in this sound circle, and I got very emotional. I had like this emotional wave come over me, and I'm in this period where I'm just radically embodying my emotions and everything that comes up. And so I began to weep. The story's a bit deeper than that, but anyways, long story kind of short, I began to weep. And this nervous system master came up behind me, put his hand behind my head and his knee in my back, and just like opened me up to where I could fully weep for like, it felt like the first time in my life that my head felt like fully safe and supported, and that I had the space to actually feel these emotions. And I wept for like 10 minutes, and there was a group of 12 people around me just singing into me as I was weeping. The women were hitting angel tones, the men were deep in their root chakra, and I was literally like, I never thought I'd be the person like convulsing, weeping. Like I always saw that and had judgment in the past, or just didn't even believe that it was real. And then I found myself there, and it was one of the most freeing things I've ever been a part of, one of the most powerful moments in my life. And so basically, after I stopped weeping, I was just breathing, and this sound healer from Brazil, he is this ayahuasca shaman who has been building a temple in Brazil for the last 13 years, just like fully open voice. I like to call him a real human, just zero Western societal conditioning whatsoever, just like super, super amazing. He came up to me and he was like, "Hey, Joe, it's time for you to sing." And dude, I had never sang before in my life. Like in the car sometimes by myself, but like even then I had this attachment to an outcome, and I would if I would hear anything come out that didn't sound good, that I would just get it would keep me from pursuing it further, and it was just this loop of negative feedback. And so anyways, after weeping, I was just really, really open, and I just trusted in the moment, and I just began to sing. And at first it was like I was just letting out like what was left from the crying, and then I started to resonate with the people that were singing around me, these people that were all standing around me. And in that moment, so much clicked for me. So I began to sing, fully opening my voice, not attached to any sort of outcome or how I sounded, what words I was saying, anything, just hitting tones. And it was really, really beautiful. And we were all just like this divine symphony singing together. And in that moment, I realized just how powerful the sound is, and just how powerful it is for us to sing. And I thought to myself, I'm like, we are healing each other. We are healing each other in this very moment. Mm-hmm. And I thought about it deeper after the fact, and it makes so much sense, because everything is a vibration. And we are literally an instrument. We are an instrument.
Of God.
Of God, yes. And literally, I mean, we we are the instrument. And so it was just so powerful for me. And then the sound healer from Brazil, he came and stayed with me for a few days, and we did the sound healing journey together. And he helped me open up my throat chakra fully. After that, that instance really opened it up. And then working with him for a few days just expanded on the matter. And now I'm singing every single day. I realized that singing is just as important as breathing. It's just as important as drinking water or eating. And my life is completely changed. And now it's like when you open the throat chakra and you feel fully safe to sing, you feel fully safe to tell the truth. You're convicted. It's like that much easier to be impeccable with your word. It's that much easier to speak your truth. It's that much easier to literally do anything. It shed this layer of fear that I didn't even know existed. And I feel like a brand new person. I feel like I've shed a cocoon and become a beautiful butterfly. And I'm going to sing for the rest of my life. It's probably the most powerful healing modality I've found.
So beautiful.
Yeah, bro.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Right, and we started this podcast talking about masculinity, and now we're talking about singing. Because on the surface, those things are very different. But in reality, like, they're deeply interconnected. The most embodied masculine men are the ones who can fully sing and express themselves. And I resonate so deeply with this because all summer I spent the summer learning how to dance and learning how to express myself through dance and become more free through dance and movement. And I'd go to these parties in Thailand until like 8 a.m. till sunrise multiple times. Wow. And I'd go by myself. And I'd go by myself and just dance. And I felt the entire time I was doing that, I was healing. I was doing self-therapy by being in the rave by myself dancing. And when I go look outside of myself, like, is somebody looking at me? Why? Where's the insecurity? And so I progressively became more and more free. And for me, dance was the first expression. Now it's starting to unlock singing a little bit. Yeah. And it's also so divinely orchestrated in terms of timing, because during one of these ayahuasca ceremonies, I saw very clearly who I could be in like 20 years. And I saw myself with like long hair, beard, and singing. And I was like, I've never sang before in my life. And I was singing opera music, which is so interesting because my grandma is an opera singer too. So I was like, that's deeply within me. And I had this strong visual of like, I've heard Eckhart Tolle say enlightenment is like the flowering of human consciousness. So like a flower, when it blooms, that's an enlightenment. A human being blooming or becoming enlightened is the full expression, and the full expression is song. And that top note, that top expression is through the voice. And so
it's deeply connected.
Yeah, and so I wasn't ready in the ceremonies to sing. I feel I'm very tapped into my body right now. I feel a little bit of pain when I say that here in my throat.
Wow.
Yeah, and even as you were talking, I was feeling different things in my body, but I wasn't quite ready to share a song with the group because I was like, I don't know what to say. But I would be humming in my room by myself. Yeah. And over the next few weeks when I met you and we did a rapé ceremony together, I realized, I can just hum, and that's the first step.
That's the first step.
And it unlocked with you in that ceremonial moment. And now for the past week, I'm waking up and I'm walking to the coffee shop and I'm humming. And I feel like the birds are chirping and I'm humming and we're like singing to start the day together.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's real.
It's so magical. It's so magical.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm so happy, bro.
Thank you.
I'm so happy.
Thank you for showing me.
Yeah.
And all it takes is like one man embodying the freedom of dance or the freedom of song.
Exactly.
For the other men to be like, oh, I can do this too. Totally. And that is real embodied masculinity.
Totally, man. And that's what modern man rebirth is. And it's not just my thing. Just like my old brand, the Modern Primal, like it's for everybody. Like modern man rebirth is a wave that's happening in society right now, and it's just something that I'm passionate about facilitating and pushing to the masses. And it's just about redefining what it means to be a man and what masculinity even is, or even better yet, detaching from masculinity in that societal perception. There's like this huge societal rift right now where people are like, oh, I need to tap into my masculine energy, or oh, I need to tap into my feminine energy. And it's like this, even just the word need is like, it's like we get to be everything that we are. We get to we get to be authentically us. And the more that we can tune into God and receive these messages and just become a clear channel and essentially just channel 24/7, I believe the more that we're going to break outside of those confines, and we're going to, I mean, they say that the angels, like, they're just so tapped in that they communicate telepathically. And whenever they want to open up their mouth, it's not to be like, hey, you want to go to the gym? It's to sing because they love to create beauty. And I feel like we have the capacity, I know that we have the capacity to create that here on earth. Even the telepathic communication, like, it's very real.
100%.
Yeah.
This morning I sent out a newsletter about my ayahuasca journey. And in the third ceremony, when I was starting to understand a little bit more like what was going on in this other dimension, this 4D world, where time and space don't really exist, the shaman and I began communicating telepathically.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I didn't know what was happening. I was like, wait, is he reading my thoughts? Wait, are we communicating? And what's so interesting, it's so hard to articulate in words what was happening because it was happening beyond words and beyond language, but he only spoke Spanish. And I speak English. I speak a little bit of Spanish, but we were able to understand each other and communicate on some energetic level because the ayahuasca expands our mind and our consciousness to the point where the third eye is open. And it happened the next night too, outside of the medicine space.
Yeah.
I was in my house in my little tambo in the jungle by myself, and I was meditating. And I was getting super high up there. Like I was noticing I was in the third eye. I was seeing visuals. My crown felt very open to the sounds and nature around me. I was one with everything. And we started communicating across the forest. Because I had fear, actually, of him. Because I was like, this is so powerful. Like, he's able to create this spell of an ayahuasca ceremony. He's able to see in other people's minds, potentially. So I was scared.
Wow.
And we had this moment of like, can I trust you? To each other. Across the forest. We never spoke about it. But I feel deeply it was true and it happened. And so, coming back a little bit, so I was with a friend in Austin a few weeks ago. His name's Rocco. And we were talking about cell phones and devices. And he was like, oh yeah, I think, people were able to communicate across the world thousands of years ago for sure, like in the city of Atlantis. But he was like, they didn't have these. They didn't have phones. They just communicated telepathically because they're so clear. And it feels like we're entering a paradigm where that becomes possible, right? The psychics you meet, the healers, the energy workers. These people are so clear as channels that they can actually feel energy and see beyond visual sight. And those abilities are within all of us. We've just forgotten. True. And we've suppressed them because we've become desensitized by everything in society we've created. So totally. I would have thought this shit was wild and woo-woo and nonsense up to a few weeks ago, but it was to the point where I got so sensitive in the jungle doing nothing, eating nothing, no music, no phone, nothing, no consumption, no reading, that I became clear enough that all these magical things started to reveal themselves to me. And they were always there the whole time. Yeah. I was just too numb to notice.
Yeah. That's so powerful, and that's such a big lesson for everyone listening right now, man. We are these powerful divine beings, and a clear channel can bring forth so much magic. I mean, I think it's important to just forget and detach from anything that we know and deem to be true in society, and just like reprogramming is so key. And wow, that's powerful, man. That's very inspiring. I feel a lot of resonance.
Yeah, and sometimes when I'm talking about it, I'm like, it's easy to get lost up there a little bit, right? Like talking about these abstract concepts that most people are like, what are you talking about? So I think let's ground it back into like, for the normal guy watching this, right? Yeah. If they're not worried about opening their third eye right now, maybe later. But for the normal guy, coming back to the concept of modern man rebirth, right? One of the things that you would talk about and you've talked about now that is contrary to modern belief or normal belief is that singing is a healing modality. What other pillars do you find as resonant with this idea of the modern man reborn?
Yeah, so there's a few foundational pillars that I'm very clear on that are going to be the foundation of really what it is that I'm sharing with the world. And so previously I was really just focused on health and vitality. So helping people get clear with their nutrition, helping people lose weight, gain muscle, train for marathons, yada, yada, yada. And basically after everything that's happened, I realized that there's just so much more to life. And I always knew that there was more. I just got so lost in the sauce and in this bubble of like, this is it. this is it. This is what I'm meant to do. I had created a whole brand on it and devoted multiple years, and it almost felt like I got lost in a 9 to 5 again, and that it was like hard to escape.
You created a new identity for yourself that becomes a trap.
Exactly.
I've done the same thing.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I did. And so Modern Man Rebirth is just a reflection of myself and this journey that I'm going through. So not only are we going to be diving into health and vitality, but we're also going to be focusing on the other pillars that help create this strong foundation. I like to think of it as like a house. And so if you have a bunch of pillars in a house, only like one of those pillars is health and vitality. Then over here we have consciousness and spirituality. Over here we have relationships and finding your tribe. Over here we have wealth creation, manifestation. Over here we have singing, dancing, full expression. You know, there's all these different pillars, and if there's one pillar that is lacking, as soon as a storm comes in, your house is not going to be able to survive, and it's going to crumble. And so Modern Man Rebirth is about sharing these other pillars with people and helping the modern man remember that there's so much more to life than what society basically pushes down our throats and what I was a part of, you know, the last few years. And I'm not shameful or bashful about any of it because I was doing my best and it was such a net positive. And the people that are focused on health and wellness, it's such a net positive. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm just saying that I personally have realized that there's just so much more. And it's like, you know, once we, when we figure these things out, it's easy to get high on it and just be like, oh my gosh, like it feels so good over here. Come here. Let me show you this. And you just want to like share it with everyone. And just like I've realized in the past, whenever I have epiphanies and realizations like this and I'm leveling up, the best ways that we can inspire growth and change is to be and to set the example. And so I am in this season of life where I'm radically embodying everything that I feel brings me closer to God and my soul's purpose. And a lot of it is in the consciousness and spirituality part of it. Every single one of those things can be tied back into God. And this fact that we are all one, that we are all one being, we all share a consciousness. There is a collective consciousness that we are all a part of. And I just think it's so important to share. And I think it's so important to, you know, I have respect for religion, and I think that it's a net positive, and whatever it is that helps us grow closer to God, great, let's do it. I also just feel like it's not even needed, and that it can create barriers and confusion. And at the foundation of it all, even if you're religious, this, that, and the other, like we can just all agree that there's a divine force that is everything and that we are all a part of. And if there's somebody that's like, oh no, that's not possible, like that's not what it says in the Bible, or like this, that, and the other, I just believe that's a byproduct of societal conditioning and these man-made things that are designed to, well, maybe not designed to, that's kind of a victim mindset, but these things that are so obviously keeping humanity in boxes and creating division. And so, yeah, the biggest part of Modern Man Rebirth is literally reconnecting with ourselves, reconnecting with God.
Remembering who we are.
Remembering. It's all about remembering. There's nothing that we need to change. There's nothing that's wrong. It's all about remembering. Yes. We already know. And we're divine beings, bro. Even like human history, the way that we're told, like the stoned ape theory, like that's another reason why I gravitated away from modern primal, because people thought that I was like on the Liver King train, or that I thought that humans were monkeys or whatever it was. Like, nah, man, we are these divine beings, divine. And we are simply just remembering that fact.
Yeah, and from that place of knowingness, all the other pillars begin to take care of themselves.
I mean, because whenever you're connected to God, whenever you're connected to this source, this thing that is, then you are. And it's really, the way that I feel is like, it's not even that hard. It's not that hard. Like, even attaching to this outcome that we have to create or that we have to, bro, all we get to do is just be. And connecting, that is connection to God, is understanding that, in my opinion.
Yeah. Something I'm fascinated about you is like this transition from, like, you told me you were running 13 miles a day, running marathons, like training super hard every day, to now when I went to the gym with you, like we did a workout that all of my college football teammates and my old self would say like, oh, that's pussy shit. Like you guys didn't do anything. But you're interesting because it seems to me that from a health and fitness and vitality perspective, you're moving purely through intuition. Like, what does my body feel it needs right now?
Yeah.
And you're not pushing super hard. You're not pushing to failure. You're not doing all these crazy, like, workout regiments. You're just moving with intuition. And you're still, like, this force of nature. Like, where people are, like, walking down the street, they're like, who's this guy? Is he in the NFL? So, can you walk me through, like, how do you approach health, wellness, fitness, vitality on a daily basis? Because there is one aspect of it is like tapping into God, but there's another aspect of like having the knowledge and knowing like the science, the nuances. Like how can we bridge those two?
Yeah, man, that's a really great question. And, you know, I'm a product of my environment and my experiences. And so I had a conversation with a friend last night about this. He was like, how can I gain weight? How can I do this? Like, what's the most important thing to focus on? And it was interesting because my first thought that I wanted to say to him was connecting deeper to God and loving yourself more and just trusting. And it's important to remember that I believe that it's important to meet people where they're at and like ride this wave of consciousness where we can integrate together. And I feel like whenever we jump too far ahead or into this bubble, it's like that is division as well to an extent. And we are all meant to heal together. We are all one. So it's almost like leave no man behind, kind of.
You're leaving yourself behind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so my personal experience is I come from a background where I've just been enthralled with health. Ben Greenfield was like my hero for multiple years. I listened to like every single episode of his podcast. I followed biohackers on Instagram. I went through this phase of just radically seeking information. I referred to myself as a truth seeker. And, you know, for me personally now, I feel like it's good to get to a level where you can cultivate your life force energy to a certain extent and then maintain. We kind of hit on it a little bit at Lifetime the other day, but basically, and this is a little bit off topic, but I feel like while we're young and we have the capacity to really build the life force of this physical body, it's really important to maximize that through like eating meat and training and eating these like nutrient dense foods. And then once we get to a certain level, I believe that we're these divine beings, and so we know what it is that we need, and we know what it is that it's going to take us closer to our soul's purpose. And so I believe that once we get to this certain level of maintenance, that it's almost like you've built up the life force energy and you can maintain it as long as you honor and respect yourself and, you know, make the decisions that facilitate that. And I got to this point where I realized that everything that I was doing for my physical fitness and body was simply due to the external validation and just these societal normalities. And I was seeing people like Nick Bear just absolutely like run themselves into the ground. I mean, I'm not like trying to project this onto anybody, but there's just this massive group of people that are like pushing their bodies like beyond belief. And I felt like I just wanted to ride that wave and like be as what society deemed to be like a manly man, and like prove myself and push myself. And I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to, because I showed myself a lot, and I saw what I was capable of in this physical body. And I also realized that it was a form of numbing, and that it further proved to me that nothing in this physical body, there's nothing physical, like no physical outcome that can fulfill our soul. It doesn't, like, it's just not possible. And, or for me, in my opinion, don't want to speak in absolutes. And so now I'm at this phase where I've integrated a lot of nervous system regulation, and I've realized that what we do physically is so important for our nervous system. And our body is, we're divine beings, but also we have these systems in our body that are quite primal in a way. And so whenever we're, say, like pushing ourselves really hard running or going to failure in the gym every day, it's like those are all signals to the body. And so in my opinion, it's like the body's like, what are we running from? What are we running from? And that's why people's cortisol is through the roof. And that's why I can just see it so visibly in so many of these athletes that I just don't believe it's good for the nervous system, which is connected to every single piece of our body. And so I'm in this season of showing my body grace. I'm in this season of respecting the divinity inside of myself, and also in this space of not feeling the need to prove myself in any way, shape, or form. Because running and pushing your body really, really hard to failure, it can be really great. It can be really great. And I still go hard in the gym, maybe like once per week, I'll go like super hard to failure just for the muscle benefit, because I'll just, I like to grow my muscles. I think it's really cool, and I like to look good, and what is looking good. Yeah. And so
something that resonates for me is the excessive pushing yourself, like the Goggins mentality, the Jocko mentality, the Nick Bare mentality, that resonates with so many of us. It resonated with me for so long. Now that at that point I had no concept of spirituality or consciousness.
Exactly. Yeah, me too.
All I was Jack Moses' physical body, right? How can I maximize what Jack Moses is? Yeah. But the pushing myself to the limit, and like, if I don't wake up at 5 a.m. and run 10 miles today, I'm soft. Yeah. That is coming from a place of deep hurt. At least 100%. For me, it was 100%. Coming from a place of deep hurt. And I think oftentimes we cope as men, especially, with more achieving, more doing. Yeah. Because we're terrified of what would it be like to just be with ourselves. Yeah. What would come up. And so I'm going to keep building the business. I'm going to keep running 26 miles a day. But once you wake up to your true nature, then those things become obsolete. Like, exactly. I've done it probably 2 or 3 times where I'd sign up for a marathon, and then I'd be like, why am I doing this? Yeah. Like, what part of me needs to prove to myself that I can do a marathon? Yeah. And so this summer in Thailand, I lost like 25 pounds on accident. Wow. And what was funny is, for the 2 years preceding that, I'd been trying to lose 10 to 15 pounds so hard, and I could never do it. I would go from like 185 to 175 with like super strict discipline, intermittent fasting, never touching a refined carb, like 5 runs a week, 5 lifts a week, so much force and restriction. Yeah. But then after that, like this seal would just break and the bubble would pop, and I'd go back binge eating and go right back up and be higher than I was before. And so this summer, in all areas of life, work, fitness, everything, I experimented with what would it be like to do nothing, to not force myself to do anything. What would happen? And so there was a period of probably like a week or 2 where I literally didn't do anything. I was just laying there. I was laying around, not working out, not playing, not writing, not pursuing any creative projects. And I got to a place one day in the hammock. I remember sitting there in this small little hippie town in Thailand called Pai. And I was sitting in this hammock overlooking the mountains and just watching the cows. And I was like, I feel so at peace. Like, and I put out a tweet, which I think was one of my best tweets. It was like, I feel completely, like for the first time in my life, I feel genuinely okay if I achieve nothing. And as somebody who has been such a high achiever, for me to get to that place of like getting so in the yin energy and completely being okay with being and loving myself just for existing, then the desire to start doing push-ups came out of me. The desire to start playing sports and be in the sun all day came out of me. And so
out of self-love, though.
Out of self-love, not self-hate, which was force, which was I need to run this many miles. It was like, I'm feeling a lot of energy right now. I'm going to go put on music and I'm going to go do like 100 push-ups.
Let's go.
Or I'm going to go do pull-ups. Or I'm going to put on music, and I got into something called poi, which is like a flow art, where I would go put on EDM music and dance for an hour. And it never felt like force. Or I'd go play basketball, or I'd go to a rave. And I took the same approach to eating. I wasn't forcing myself to eat anything. I wasn't forcing myself to not eat anything. I met a few wise people on this trip that helped me reframe eating to not what does my mind think, not how many calories do I need, how much protein should I eat this meal. What does the body feel that it needs? What is it signaling to me? And from that place of intuitively, what does the body feel it needs in terms of food and movement and play? And play was the biggest thing. I ended up losing. I went from like 190 at the start of the trip to like 165. I was like, well, I haven't been 165 since I was 15. I almost got to the point where I'm like, I need to start lifting some weights again.
Yeah.
But to bring it full circle, it was
how that works.
right. When you don't try, then the answers are there.
You just detach from the outcomes, bro. Like that's what so much of this is about, is just detaching from any outcomes, because that's not living in the present moment. And when you're not in the present moment, you're not being channeled by God. You're not connected to God.
Exactly. Like we put our happiness in the future.
Exactly.
Once I get the six pack, then now I'll be competent enough to go talk to a girl.
Yeah. Once I get the camera, I'll make the content. Once I that's all. It's a facade.
It's a trap of the human mind.
100%.
Yeah. So I'm grateful that we are conscious enough and aware enough to realize all that was not true.
Yeah.
But I'm
for
not
us.
Yeah, for
it
us.
could be true for someone else. There's levels. I don't want to like.
Yes. And I also want to say that myself on the path, I'm so much figuring things out right now.
Yeah, me too.
But there comes this period where I thought I had everything figured out, like you, like, oh, intermittent fasting is the thing. Like hybrid training is the thing. And then it's almost like the more aware I've got, the less I realize I actually know, and the more open I am to just like anything.
Exactly, bro.
And I'm experimenting every day, and it's such a blessing. It's so much fun.
That's so beautiful. That's what life is about, man. That's truly what life is about, is just it's like receiving orders from God in every moment. It's like, all right, what's next, you know? And then you can take it a step further, and it's not even about asking, it's just about being, and just having a clear channel to our intuition and being able to follow that and listen to it, and to simply just be here and do our best.
Yes. And the asking is so interesting. Like if you ask for signs, you'll get them if you're actually open enough to see, but not from a place of like, prove it to me, like this is real. It's like, God, if you're there, like give me a sign. What should I do about this? Like today I created my daily schedule, like what I was going to do today, like writing, hitting a workout, doing cold plunge, this podcast. And I got my wake up time in the order of what I wanted to do from asking last night, God, the question. And so I was like, what time should I wake up tomorrow? Train horn blasts. And I just felt like, oh, it's 9.
I love that. You're super tapped in right now.
I know, it's
super
incredible.
tuned in.
And then it was like, what should I do first? And then like this, the wind rushed really hard, and it was like, whoosh, and it was like right. And it was just like, oh, I knew. So the signs are really always there if we ask for them, but if we never ask, we'll never see.
That's so interesting.
Even during this conversation, I've noticed certain sounds at certain parts of the conversation signal something.
Yeah, I mean, that's the divinity in everything. It's because we know, like, and whenever we get lost in this societal language barrier that's keeping a lot of people trapped, like, I think I should do this, or like, what do you think? And we're just trained to always question ourselves, even asked to go to the bathroom, like zero conviction in our word and the truth. And so that's such a powerful realization to have, and to step into is realizing that we know as long as we are.
Mm-hmm.
It's so beautiful. Wow.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah.
But it's also like there's still fear. It's like, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah, I think that we can always break everything in life down into two different categories, and it can be a thought, it could be a question, whatever it is, and we can we can always discern if it's out of fear or out of love.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that I transition anything in my life that I can deem as fear into love, like ask questions like, what if it fails? Like, that is out of fear. That's out of fear. That's not even in my vocabulary anymore. I don't let my mind even, I mean, I don't create those stories anymore because they're so unbenefiting. And so the more that we can tap into the love, and I mean, that's what God is too. I know everything keeps coming back to God, and I might sound like I'm beating but it's like, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about your mission. You've mentioned it a few times.
Mm-hmm. Speaking about boxes and everything, like, I'll word it carefully. Right now in this moment, I feel like the most prevalent thing for me is helping to illuminate the modern man. And it's essentially amplifying everything that we've talked about in this conversation. And my tagline used to be like, I am here to heal the modern man. And I had a friend give me some really good advice one day. He was like, hey man, I encourage you to think about that, because you can't heal anybody. Everybody heals themselves. Mm-hmm. And it absolutely changed my life. And so now it's like, then I changed it to healing with the modern man. And now it's to help illuminate the modern man. And I just believe that all of these modalities that we've tuned into, that I'm going to be launching in my cohort, that you're helping me with, and that you're going to be a part of, like, all of these things can just help us grow closer to God and essentially illuminate. I believe that is I keep hearing about enlightenment and illumination and Jesus and Buddha, and essentially all it is just growing closer to God. And so, yeah, man, I believe that that modern society is just so confusing, and I don't have it all figured out by any means, but I have realized that I do have some gifts that I can share with people that can really help them out and at least help facilitate that journey in whatever way it is. Just planting seeds, bro. Like, as a coach, like, the best way to coach people or to help somebody illuminate or to heal is not to give them advice. It's to help them come to these conclusions. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, man, that's my mission right now. And again, my mission is evergreen. My growth is evergreen. I'm just open. I'm simply playing in this divine symphony. And right now, that's what my tune is. And it feels really good.
Wow. Yeah. That hits. Yeah. That's resonant.
Yeah.
What does the number 1.3 million mean?
Ooh, I love that. Yeah. So basically, they say that it takes 1.3 million people vibrating at the same frequency to cause a shift in the collective consciousness. And so that it goes into what we were talking about, ourselves as instruments. And so we can break it down at a vibrational level. Everything in this world is a vibration. Our thoughts are vibrations. The way that our body works, it's all signals. It's all signals and vibrations. And if you've ever thrown a stone in water, we can break it down at a visual level. I'm a visual person. Whenever you throw a stone in the water, you can see the ripples. That's the vibration in the water. So that vibration is literally storing in the water. Humans are 70% water. We are made up of water. And so that means whatever vibrations we play, whatever vibrations come into our field, are storing in our biology. And so if we're listening to harmful news or songs that preach harmful messages or having conversations with people that are instilling fear, hate, or anything that isn't God, I'm not saying that, like, I also like to, like we can really have an impenetrable force field and really stay in our own energy. And I feel like instead of just like staying in my own energy, I want to help facilitate this one love consciousness shift. And so taking what we just talked about with vibrations and frequency, you can think of the collective consciousness as this big pond, this big ocean. And right now, the frequency that is resonating through this collective consciousness, I don't believe that it's fully one love. I mean, just look at the state of the world. Look at what type of music people are listening to. Like, there's people killing each other. There's war. There's death. There's so much division, politics. And I mean, even politics, bro, like that, like I truly, with this awareness that I have now, it's hard for me to rationalize anyone being consumed by anything that isn't one love. And so anyways, so you can apply that frequency concept, right, in the collective consciousness. And so basically right now it's actually happening. I believe that we already have the capability to make this happen, to resonate at this one love frequency and create the shift in consciousness once we just realize it and once we believe. So then you imagine that there's like this little bubble in the consciousness bubble, and that's the one love. This is the collective consciousness. This is the one love. And the more people that can resonate at the one love frequency, soon enough, it can be big enough to where they say it takes 1.3, then there's a new frequency that's taking over this pond. There's a new frequency. And so if it's one love, which is the ultimate goal, because we are all one, that is undeniable. It is undeniable that we are all connected. And so
that's an absolute that you can say.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that as I was saying it. Like, I don't want to speak in absolutes, and I just like, it's this undeniable presence inside of my heart. And when I say it, it feels so good and so true. And I'll own that as mine. And I don't want to project that onto anybody else. I do feel like it's like that is the universal truth, God. It's like there's relative truths. There's a lot of relative truths in this life. There is an unconditional truth, or there is a universal truth, and that's God, and that's love, and that's the frequency. Like it's absolutely undeniable. And so, anyways, 1.3 million people vibrating at that frequency that we're talking about. That's enough to literally change the frequency of the pond, of the collective consciousness. And then that's when we can, dude, new earth. Like the picture that you posted on your Twitter today, like a vibrant earth with, I mean, because once we're vibrating at that frequency, then the earth is vibrating at that frequency because we're all connected. And then the plants feel safe and comfortable to fully bloom and nourish us and support us. And we're all just vibrating at this beautiful frequency. And that's when we are connected with God again, 100%. And
as you said that, the air conditioning like started pumping.
Yeah.
For the first time.
Yeah.
I feel a breeze now.
It feels really good.
When you said that.
Yeah. And so it's like, yeah, man, all it takes is just belief. All it takes is belief, and all it takes is sharing this frequency. And then once somebody feels the frequency, it's undeniable. That's also why I can say it. Like, I've been having conversations with people, or just looking at people in the eyes with the one love frequency, and they just start bawling their eyes out immediately. No words said. Or even just a few words. Like, people are like, what is that? like, what are you doing to me right now? And I am just loving. I'm literally just vibrating at the love frequency.
There's that deep knowingness in everybody, and I didn't feel it until I really came to Austin in January, when I'd meet certain individuals like Danny Miranda or like Cameron Hogan, and they would just look at me in a different way, where I was like, I feel like I can't hide around this person.
Yeah, it's the truth, bro.
They're looking at you with the eyes of truth, and I feel it in this conversation.
Yeah.
And for so long, I was not able to look somebody in the eye.
Yeah, me too. It's in the eyes. Like, the eyes are they're such a pivotal part of this. Yeah. And the more, bro, like, I see it more and more every day. If we just cut through the BS and we slow things down, integrate our breathing, look each other in the eyes, that's how we connect nervous systems. That's how we get on the same page. And yeah, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, and it happens on the level of the individual. Like, we can put the number out there, 1.3 million people vibrating at this frequency, but each of those 1.3 million people has to come to the conclusions within themselves.
Truly.
You have to heal within yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. It's really beautiful, though, and we can get into, like, some, theories and stuff as to why we're not vibrating at 100% unconditional love, or what happened, and so on and so forth. And it's this interesting thing that I'm not fully convicted in when I say I do feel like there's like some entities or dark energy that is not one love. And it feels even weird to say that, because we are all connected. And I believe everything is connected. It's just, it's so interesting, because in every situation, for example, like for this situation, like, I could either be the victim, I could be the hero, or I could be the person that's causing that problem, or I could just be completely outside. There's like this triangle. And so I choose to be as in my own energy as possible, while standing up for what I'm passionate about and what I feel like I can make an impact on.
Yeah. I think maybe we get into darkness and light and entities and all this in the next one.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea.
Yeah, but tell the people about the cohort you're building and launching.
Yeah, so building an 8-week cohort called Man Rebirth. And, I had the opportunity to work with thousands of clients over the course of the last 3 years. I had built my online coaching business to quite a substantial business, and that's part of like why all of this happened, was because I was so tied to this business, and I was justifying it with the fact that I was changing lives and helping people grow in their fitness, yet I was so attached to the financial aspect of everything, and it put me in a box because it put me in a box. And so this cohort is just, it's expanding on everything that we've talked about in this conversation, and I know that other people feel the same way because they tell me. And as soon as I started to be 100% authentic in my content and just the stuff I posted, like, there's been people that are like, oh, that's so weird. And then there's also been 2 to 3 times more people that are like, wow, thank you so much for sharing this. I felt the same way. Like, I posted a piece of content about why I stopped running marathons to expand my consciousness and grow closer to God. And so many people reached out to me and was like, oh my gosh, like, thank you for making me feel safe enough to feel this, because I was feeling this too and I just wasn't even acknowledging it.
Wow.
And the human experience is so similar, man. It's different. It's relative, but it's so similar. Like, we're here together, and there's a reason why we're like going through these phases together as humanity. And so this cohort is for men and women alike. I've actually had a lot of women reach out and they're like, oh, is it for girls too? And it is for women. I just feel like I have the means to communicate to the man more efficiently. You know, a lot of men look at me as as a leader and as somebody who they want to trust and who they look to for guidance and advice. And I used to not accept that because I didn't want to like ride this line of ego and get cocky with it. And then I realized I was just dimming my gifts. And I mean, everybody has the potential to be a leader. Like, there are definitely different archetypes in my opinion. And the more that I've stepped into this and the more that I've accepted it and radiated it, I mean, lives have literally been changed. And I'm not trying to boast about it whatsoever. I've just seen how powerful and profound it's been for the people around me and for myself. And I'm like, it's just this divine sign from God that I'm meant to be doing this, and I'm meant to be sharing, and I'm meant to be guiding people right now in these facets. And so the 8 weeks is just going to be, it's going to be a bunch of brothers and sisters, and we're going to dive into these different aspects throughout the 8 weeks. It's going to start with health and vitality. Then we're going to get into consciousness, spirituality. Then we're going to get into relationships and tribe. And then we're going to get into wealth creation and manifestation. And we're going to tie all these aspects in together. And by the end of it, I'm hoping, and I know that, if they're ready to receive, that people are going to be able to have some of these conclusions of their own, and that it's just going to further emanate this one love and empower people to radically embody their authenticity and be impeccable with their word and live in this divine truth. And so it's going to be this intimate course that I'm building out. We're actually building it out together, so you know what I'm talking about, and you've been amazing. And then it's going to be a lot of intimate conversations, weekly calls. They're going to, we're going to be able to contact each other, ask questions, yada, yada, yada. And it's really about because so many people have reached out about the cohort just because they're like, oh, can you please help me lose weight? Can you please help me get shredded? Like, people are still so attached to that. And that is part of it. And I'm like, yeah, I think that you will make significant, profound changes in those aspects. And I want you to see that it's much deeper than that.
Right, and those changes are going to come in the way that they don't necessarily expect.
Exactly.
It's not like you're just going to be like, all right, eat this many calories a day, right?
Well, I'm going to share certain things that have helped me. Like, I'm still incredibly passionate about health and vitality, and I believe that metabolic health is supreme in the physical realm. And so I believe I have a gift for helping people tune in and improve their metabolic health. I truly believe that I've cracked the code. I've been able to, marathon training wreaked havoc in my body, and I actually put on crazy weight, and it's this huge facade in society where people think they need to run or do crazy workouts to lose weight, and it's actually quite the opposite, because your body's going to need way more calories, and then if you don't supply your body with those calories, then you're actually going to just be losing all of your muscle, and then you're going to be getting injured because your body doesn't have the fuel or tools to stay healthy with your ligaments, tendons, bones, joints, etc. And so, yeah, man, basically, long story short, a lot of it is just simply detaching from any societal outcomes about anything, whether it be the health and fitness, whether it be the consciousness and spirituality, wealth creation, manifestation. At the end of it, I'm just going to help people understand that I'm just going to help people remember, bro. And I'm going to help people detach from outcomes, learn to love themselves again. And as a byproduct, all of these areas are going to absolutely skyrocket, because that's what it is that's holding people back. Like, some people are like, I've tried everything, I can't lose weight. And first of all, that story alone is what is holding you back. You are literally creating that with your words, casting those spells into the universe. And I believe that everything has a spiritual connection. And so dis-ease, that's just a frequency, that's a spiritual frequency, dis-ease in your body somewhere. Cancer, everything. And I know that might trigger some people. It has in the past. Like, what? Oh, like, how dare you say that? Like, my niece got cancer and like passed away, like whatever it is. And I am not trying to belittle anything. I'm saying, like, everything is stemmed from some sort of spiritual connection, whether it be the karmic patterns, whether it be the parents, whether it be some sort of like environmental factor that amplified the spiritual dissociation. I mean, dude, everything is like a belief system. So I'm really trying to I'm helping people learn to believe in themselves again and to trust God. And I mean, an example alone is how long we live as humans. We literally tell our children that it's long to live to 100. We tell our children that. And then there's this other wave of consciousness that believes that humans actually can live to 800 years old and beyond, and that we actually used to. And it's just because we tell our kids that it's like, my dad told me growing up that no fair man had ever lived past 80 years old. And he was saying that, like, he didn't mean any harm by it, but that's literally what I believed for my entire life. And then as I've gained this consciousness and awareness, I've been doing certain things like a meditation I do is I close my eyes every single day. I breathe super deeply and slowly, regulating my nervous system. And I repeat, I am timeless. And I can literally feel my face soften. I can feel every ounce of my being soften, relax, feel safe. And I feel timeless. I feel younger. I feel like I'm aging backwards. And it's so powerful. And so as I've gone further down this route, like at first, when I first realized it, I was like, whoa, I can actually live till 150. And I fully had conviction in that. And so then for like 6 months, I was like, anytime somebody asked me or I brought it up, I'm like, yeah, I'm living till 150. And I said it fully with conviction, and I fully believed it. And as I've continued with this timeless meditation and just this belief system that I am this eternal being and that I get to choose whenever I want to transcend from this physical realm, now I'm up to like over 300, bro. Like, I truly believe it. I know it.
Yeah.
I know it because we get to choose. And so even when people die when they're old, it's because they're ready. You'll notice, like, once it happens, it usually happens fast. Somebody will get cancer and pass away, and then their spouse will pass away months later, even if they were perfectly healthy before their spouse passed away. And it's because they were ready to transition. They got down so depressed, or like they were so attached to the outcome of like living life with this person. I think it even gets deeper, like being in a relationship with somebody, like till death do us part. Even just by saying that to somebody and being it, like, you're creating that reality and manifesting that. And so I believe that the more that we can detach from any of these societal facades, bro, like, we can live as long as we want to. We can create whatever we want with our mind. It's all belief, and it's all just casting those spells so that we solidify it with God and the universe.
Yes.
And believe it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And all this is going to become very clear in the next 8 years plus 20 years.
It's happening really fast.
I've been hearing 2032 is like this big shift into the next paradigm of Earth. And then beyond in the 2040s, 2050s, like, the idea of living to 300 is going to be not crazy. It's going to be, oh, wait, this is actually possible for us. And since you told me that, you're the first person that ever said that to me with a straight face. You, like, we're at lunch, and this dude is like, oh, I'm going to live to 300. I was like, what? What did you just say? And it actually pairs well with, I had a Vedic astrology reading, and he said, oh, there's a reality where this chart lives to 130. And I was like, that's interesting. I've never even contemplated that. But there has been a sense of knowingness in me, like, oh, I feel like I'm going to live like way over 100. I've always felt that since I was a kid. And so now my health healing journey is just really beginning. But that's for the next episode. I think we need to wrap this one up.
Yeah, totally.
So, Cohort, when is it coming out?
Yeah, the Cohort's launching January 1st. I'll be sending out the first email signups on Black Friday, and yeah, I think that this is a profound opportunity for anybody that's ready to reclaim their radical sovereignty and freedom in life and totally detach from any sort of societal outcomes and just feel fully free to trust themselves and God again.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to be a part of it and
I'm-
learn from you.
Yeah, man. I'm excited for you to be a part of it. I'm excited for everyone to be a part of it. And it's like, I'm so excited to just facilitate love and healing and do my part and help change the world and help us remember.
I told you the other day, like, God made you 6'6" with a beard and jacked for a reason. You're supposed to lead people. So it's beautiful to see you step into it. And for everybody out there who's interested in this cohort, I'm probably going to be giving a guest masterclass or two on, like, creator economy, online business, like, how can we infuse consciousness and spirituality into this 3D game. So I'll be in there too.
That's
So
perfect. Yes.
I'm excited.
Well, thank you so much for this conversation. And I feel like we literally only scratched the surface.
yeah.
We need to do like a 10-hour podcast.
It'll happen. Over the years, we're going to live to 300. We got a lot of podcasts.
Well, by the time we get to 300, then it's going to be 1,000.
And we're not even gonna be speaking anymore. There's gonna be nothing to be said.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Jack. I love you, brother. I love everybody listening to this podcast. Yeah, thank you so much. You've changed my life in the short time that I've known you and really inspired me.
Wow. Thank you. I love you too, and I feel the exact same. I'm so excited for the future.
Likewise. You. Oh, wow.